Oh, I wounded him in the shoulder. That's okay. Hey, he cocked 45 here. Oh, I'll shoot him again. Doesn't work so well, does it? Hickok 45, bringing to you an 1861 Enfield Musketoon carbine, called different things, and we'll talk about that. Cap lock. There's the cap. There's the lock, right? Okay. Big hammer. Unfortunately, it's a single shot, but back in the day, that was state of the art at some point, as was really anything we see, isn't it? Okay, let's talk a little bit about this baby. Let me lay it down here. Good looking rifle. This is considered the Parker Hale. It's called the Parker Hale Musketoon, and you might be able to tell, looks short in my hands, doesn't it? It's a full length rifle. Actually, it's not. Musketoon tells you it is short, and even though it has two bands, it's a short rifle, and it's 58 caliber. It was pretty much, of course, designed for the mini bullet, the mini ball, and that's what we like to shoot in these. Okay, they speeded up the twist on these. I think it has a 1 in 48 twist. The pattern 1853 didn't have quite as fast a twist, and then later on they added a much faster twist. Well, I don't know how much faster, but a faster twist rate to it. And if you don't know what twist rate means, check out our channel. We have a video on that. So 5 grooves were some of the alterations they made in the later years in these things, and they are designed to be really accurate with a mini bullet. One of these babies right here, gooey as it is. It's 460 grains. These particular ones are out to 1,000 yards. So I guess better than a round ball, really. That bullet called Manet, in France, but we tend to call it a mini bullet. At least I do. I know that probably bothers some of you, but it's a mini bullet. Anybody I've ever seen or shoot with, they call it a mini bullet. And they're very, very accurate. They're easy to load, and they're wonderful. So anyway, the 1861 Enfield. This is a Parker Hale. This one, 99% sure, was made in Birmingham, England. Okay, Parker Hale has a reputation for having made some of the very best reproduction muzzle loaders. Okay, some of you are already familiar with those. And this one was made in the early 70s in England, Birmingham, England. And the cool thing about Parker Hale was they used the same tooling or gauges that were used on the originals. So, from the Royal Small Arms Factory. That's really cool. So not much difference at all between this and an original. And of course, these command a pretty good little price. I ran across this one just recently at a gun show. Had never been fired. And the case hardening, you can tell, it's really, really nice for a reproduction muzzle loader. It's just gorgeous shape. And again, I said 99%. Based on what I've read, I've researched, I took the barrel off, looked at markings underneath it, based on some information I saw about where the markings would be if it's made in Birmingham, England and everything. I'm pretty sure it is. If you think differently, let me know. The serial number is 1019, 1019, and the wood and everything. I brought my other one out here just to show you the difference. This was one I bought about, 15, 16, 20, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. Time flies when you're having fun doing a lot of shooting, right? I bought this at Dixie Gun Works about 15 years ago or more. I can look it up. And basically the same gun, and this one actually, Parker Hale, Birmingham, England. But I since learned that after Parker Hale made some of these in the early 70s, 60s and 70s, and in England, they sold, I guess, the rights and transferred the gauges and everything that were used on the early ones, the originals, to Italy, Euro Arms, I believe. And Euro Arms bought the rights. They owned the rights to Parker Hale, so it was still considered a Parker Hale gun using those same gauges, those original gauges and everything, back from the 1800s. And so that's why they still have that on there. So it's a little bit confusing. This is a Gibbs. It was advertised as a Gibbs rifle and everything, and you can see the markings. So they're very, very similar, but to the best of my knowledge, and some of you all that know more about it, help me out, but I believe this one was made in Birmingham, England, one of the early ones, and this one was made, again, with the same gauges and everything, but it was made in Italy. All right, and both are wonderful firearms. All right, so that's the only reason I brought that one out there. Okay, and I have really learned to enjoy shooting these things. So let's load him back up. Okay, 58 caliber. Now I brought a bunch of the stuff out here that I use. I'm not a reenactor, Civil War reenactor or anything. That would be fun, I guess. But I'm just, I'm a backyard shooter, and I get all the stuff I need, and I, get it all in a box. And I thought, just from a standpoint of education, I'd let you know, some of the stuff that I do. This is boar butter that I put on the bullets. It's messy, it's kind of a paste that you lube the bullets with. It's recommended you lube them. And some people lube the bottom, and fill that up, that cavern with it. Sometimes I do that. I really have not decided whether that's the best thing to do or not, because I feel like when it goes down on the powder, that's going to get the powder wet, and it wouldn't keep it from firing, but I don't know. It seems to me it might soak up 10 grains of the powder or something, and you have erratic loads. I don't know. Anybody has an opinion on that, feel free to share it. I'd like to fill that up. Really, that'd be a great way to lube. You wouldn't have to lube the grooves as much. I forgot to lube these, so I just put this on this morning. I actually like the Wonder Lube. I usually have some of that, but I couldn't find any of that today. And then my various powder measures. You want to measure your powder. This is one. This actually was my dad's long ago, and I use that some, but I like to use these fixed ones like this. You figure out how much you want to use, and it's just I don't know, simpler, smaller. So I got this set for 60 grains. So we're going to load it, and I just get a can of powder. And you don't load directly from the can. I think I've gone over that in some of the muzzle loading videos maybe that we've done, because if there's a spark left in the barrel, and you're pouring from a full can of powder, it becomes a grenade. Whereas with this, the worst that would happen is you get a little flare up and a burn. You might burn your fingers some, but keep your face from not being over it, and you won't have anything dramatic happen there. All right, and then these are mini bullets. I used to be a Hawken guy. I think I told you I like a Hawken rifle, but these things, they're easier to load than a round ball. I mean, by far. You saw how easily that went in, and you just ram it on down. And again, with muzzle loaders, I've got this marked. You want them, the most important thing is getting the ball down on the powder, more so than how much powder is in there. You could have 120 grains. I think you could even have 200 grains, and it's not going to blow up the gun. I'm pretty sure about that. Don't quote me on that, but some of it's just going to blow out the barrel unfired. But if you don't ram the ball down there on the powder, you have a pipe bomb, basically, because you got all the space between. So just a little physics lesson there. All right, and now we use our caps. Musket cap. I love these big caps. That's one advantage of these the Civil War rifles. For me, I love these big caps, because those little number 11s and things on the Hawkins, they're just so small and tedious to mess with, whereas these are large. Now I know you're supposed to put it on half cock. It's a little more awkward to cap, and I'm not sure the big advantage. You've got it pointed down range, but we'll do that. And I do that sometimes while I'm on the range, make sure it's seated. All right, so we're ready to fire. Let's try something easy now, because I just got this and just fired it a few times. So let's take off that 2-liter there above. No, let's go to the gong. Little change of plans. Okay, it shoots high, as these things always do. I'll explain why. All right, that's a nice sound. I hope I can tell where I hit. It's like, yeah. Looks like right on the steel. Put that down. Because they're designed for longer ranges, okay? The sights are. So when you have the rear sight, even all the way down, it's probably going to shoot above point of aim when you're talking about 50 or even 80 yards. So I have to keep that in mind. Now, one of the things that always comes up with these is there could be a spark in there right now. All right, so if I start dumping powder in, it could flare up and could burn. I'll tell you, in my 40 years or more of muzzle loading, that's never happened. And I have stood with Hawkins and everything, and load and shot, load, shoot, load, shoot, load, shoot, reload, shoot. I've never had that happen. I've never seen that happen, but I know it is an issue. So it is something you want to be aware of. Now, you notice I was kind of blowing in it. Well, it's a single shot, so there's nothing in there once you shoot it. So you could put your mouth on that dirty nipple, couldn't you? Or help burn those embers. I like to help the embers get burned out more than anything. If there's something in there smoldering, that's pretty scary, you know. As some people say, close the hammer down so it can't get air. And well, if there's anything there left to burn, I want it to burn. Get the thing out of there, to tell you the truth. But I don't know, be that as it may. As long as you're careful and you're putting your powder in, you know, through a measure of some sort, you're okay. And keep your face from over the muzzle. All right, we're using real black powder here, by the way. This is not a substitute powder. It's some old stuff, old Elephant. I don't think you can even buy that anymore. I had some back when I was reloading cartridge cases a great deal for cowboy action shooting. I had a lot of that, and that's still some of that. So I'm shooting about 60 grains there. I'm experimenting with these messy bullets. If you don't like mess, now this is real professional what I'm gonna do here. See, it's so simple to go in. I didn't mess up the bullet by doing that. I used a ball starter, but it's not all marred up. Oop, wrong end. And you ram her on down. Okay. And you want to do all that at the same time. You don't want to put powder in and go away and talk to somebody. You don't want to start the bullet and then go do something else or read the paper. You want to get that bullet seated down on the powder. Okay. Again, very, very important. There's another important thing about this too. You don't want to put the ball in without the powder. Why? I'll let you think on that one. How's that? Okay, because that doesn't work out too well. All right, so we hit the gong. All right, cool. Let me try, now let's try this green 2-liter here. One thing about it, you can't see through the smoke very well. So you need to aim well and hit your target. Now, the Musketoon, as it's called, you can see that's a handy little gun, isn't it? I mean, it's just, I like a carbine, and probably a lot of you do too. It's just really handy. This was, in terms of the Enfield, these were made in England, you know, back in Civil War times. And of course, both sides were short of firearms, especially the South, and they bought tons of Enfields, you know, from the British. I think over 1 million of these things were imported to both the North and the South of various variations of it, of the Enfield rifle. And I think the 1853 pattern was the most common. Okay, and then again, as it moved on up into the 60s, there were some improvements and you had different variations of it made, but basically the same rifle with just some differences. And so very, very common. I know Confederate reenactors, a lot of them carry some form of the Enfield. More likely that one or a 3-band model, which is longer. Okay, I like the shorter gun. Even that one is shorter than a lot of them that were used in battle. And then this one is even shorter, considered to be the Musketoon. There's some, I think, difference of opinion as to whether the soldiers back then actually called it a Musketoon. It was just a short carbine. Musketoon, man, that word has been used in under so many different contexts. You know, the old blunderbusses and Musketoons. It goes way back to the smoothbores and hundreds of years. And it is used with this firearm a lot. Now, whether or not the soldiers called it a Musketoon, that's a different matter. But it is very, very short, and it's not a blunderbuss. The blunderbuss, you know, if you've seen those in the cartoons or the pirate movies where they have kind of a bell out here like a funnel, that's really what that was for. It wasn't to spread the shot, it was to make it easier to load, because if you're pouring shot down the barrel, that's all that was. And they'd load them with all sorts of things. So with these, of course, we're using a single projectile. But the Musketoon, very, very popular with cavalry. You can imagine why. If you're on a horse, you don't need a rifle 12 feet long, do you? And with artillery, they, of course, a smaller gun. Any function where the firearm did not need to be you know, again, 6 feet long. You need something handy. And then that hasn't really changed, has it, in the military? You think about the units it carried and the folks that were issued the M1 carbine or whatever that didn't necessarily need a Garand, you know, a smaller firearm. Okay. Now I've got to be careful because I'm yakking as I'm doing all this, and that's where you get in trouble and you end up putting the ball in before the powder, and that's not a good thing to do. Now if this were a ball, or even with this, sometimes I'll go ahead and use that and see, just do like that. It keeps the brass and everything, keeps it from marring it. You know, it's just a little messy. If you, again, I think I mentioned in other muzzle loading videos, if the mess bothers you, you know, you don't want to be, you know, messing with black powder. But that's part of the fun. It really is. It's just enjoyable. And you have to plan for it. You know, so I got paper towels out here and everything, and you know, my hands will be filthy, and that's all right. That's what I'm doing today. You know, I am enjoying, you know, a piece of history in the muzzle loading experience. Okay, I'm gonna put that down. My ears on. All right, let's try one of these propane tanks. Got him. All right. Now that is a big ball. That is, again, 460 grains. And again, in the interest of giving you information, these are the balls I'm using specifically. These were made by Rush Creek. I buy some of these when I go up to Friendship, Indiana, and ordered these from Track of the Wolf. It's great that you can get these because they're authentic. They are authentic. I bought some that were not. That look like some kind of weird semi-watt cutter for a 45 ACP, and these are authentic. 460 grains, okay, and they tend to work well. So let's keep this thing going. It should be okay. Now what you do if it gets hard to, now this really hasn't gotten hard to load because this lube is good. What you do occasionally, when you're out here shooting, I haven't done it yet, is you just run a patch. Now you can run a dry patch through. If it's really getting dirty, got to be careful putting a dry patch. Sometimes I'll put just a tad amount of Ballistol. That's how I got into Ballistol, through muzzle loaders first, because it's wonderful for that too. I'll put just a little dampening of that and run a patch through here. If it starts getting stiff to load, the bullet's a little, you see how nice that is? That old black powder residue, nice, huh? Now bear in mind, back when these were made originally, black powder was the powder. There was no such thing as smokeless versus black powder, not until the 1890s really. I saw on a forum someone was asking about whether when their gun was made, they thought it was an original from, you know, the 1800s, and they were indicating what was on the barrel, and it said something about for black powder only, and all this. It was funny. People were really nice to him, unlike some forums, and they were just explaining to him that since it says for black powder only, it's probably a reproduction, and then from the picture you posted, it is reproduction because all there was black powder, so that sort of thing. So that's why you see that on modern reproductions. Okay, so now I didn't make it wet. Now you'd have to be careful. Now some people will dip a patch in, you know, some kind of water and run down here to clean it. I'm always reluctant to do that as long as I'm getting things loaded without too much trouble, because you tell me what would be wrong with having it really wet down there in the chamber right now. Not good, because I'm about to dump powder down there. See, so you got to keep it dry. I tell you what I've gotten to do too. Over the last several years, I don't even wash these things with water like I used to. I used to run water and hot water and soap, and oh man, I had a system, but wow, it took time. And what I do now is I just soak it with Ballistol, and then when I'm ready to shoot it again, I run a dry patch or two through it, fire a couple of caps, and it's ready to go. So it's always in that state of, you know, readiness, except for drying it out. So here we go. Let's take a couple more shots. Now this is a big boom. I'm using my ears because it's not good not to, but it's really not an ear-splitting sound. Let's go over there and try a ram. I've got a hold under his belly, I think. A little too low, I think. We'll try one more on him and then maybe kick out this watermelon. So these are fun. Isn't it great that people actually make things like this and make it available in replica form? Because if you had an original like this that was in this kind of shape, it'd probably be $30,000 or something like that, you know? And yeah, you just wouldn't want to shoot it, and it may not be smart to shoot it. Again, it's messy. See those gooey bullets? Okay, 60 grains, put a ball in. Now if I want to, I can fire pretty fast. I can just keep them going here. You know, you could fire off 15, 20 shots without being too much trouble, you know. But it just doesn't have a semi-automatic switch on it. I mean, it doesn't. So I had to hammer back on that. Some people would not like that. Okay, half cock, put the cap on. All right, I'm gonna try that ram one more time. I'll try the right one, or the middle one. All right, that's a lot of lead. Oh man, there's nothing like the smell of real black powder in the morning or in the afternoon. I love it. I love it. It's sweet. I'm gonna take out the watermelon. The problem, you know, we set up like we were doing a normal video, and in order to shoot like 40 shots or something like you might with a revolver, it would take all afternoon. If you guys want to come back, you know, and spend the entire afternoon or something, we might do that. But these things have so much character. I'm gonna crank. I'll tell you what I'll do two things. Show you the versatility of something like this. Let's put a really light load in. I'll crank the powder measure down, then we'll do a hot load to wrap up with. I'll just do about 15 grains. The things you can do, if you don't hand load, you don't even like hand loading, you don't want to get a press and do all that, hopefully it's not too low. I better put 20 grains in. I'm always concerned about getting enough powder down there to actually do something, but you can control. You are a hand loader if you have one of these. It doesn't matter how much powder, within reason, that you use, as long as you have the bullet seated down on the powder. Okay. Again, this is the mini ball, invented by a guy named Manet, France. Imagine that. And it's very accurate. It was used, you know, almost exclusively, I guess you could probably say, in the Civil War, you know, on both sides. Although there were a variety of firearms, there were people still using flintlocks and everything else, especially in the South. Okay, now we have 20 grains. You saw me load it. Let's see if it'll go through that 2 liter. No, let's shoot something where you can kind of tell, like maybe the, I'll tell you what, that red propane tank down there. It's like shooting a suppressed gun, wasn't it? It's just, you can hear it hit the thing. See, and as long as it gets out the barrel, no problem. That's pretty neat. Pretty neat. Okay. Now let's go the other direction. And because we have a watermelon here, I'll use the powder measure. Let's put 800 grains of powder in that thing. No, let's not do that. Let's go with, I don't know, about 100 should be fine. Okay. Oops. Again, these were used on both the side of the North and the South during the Civil War, especially in the South, though. The Enfield, as I say. Now, the Musketoon, or the shorter one, like this, was not used by everybody, of course, but it was, as I say, very desirable in demand by artillery folks and cavalry, you know, that kind of thing. Right? As was the 1860 revolver, which I just happen to have out here, and my Idaho Knife Works knife. You know, just so I put a little local color out there. My Puma powder. This I use when I'm shooting round balls as my patch knife. My little Puma Hunter's Pow knife I've had since about '73. So I like knives. I like guns. If you didn't notice. All right, we've got now. I did something there that. Because I was talking and yakking, so I'm going to double check myself. We don't have a cap on there, of course, there's no way for that to fire. Yeah, I didn't put a ball in, did I? You know what I'm going to do to make sure, and this is what I do. This is real live TV here now, folks. I'm going to dump that out. Actually, I'm just going to fire it because I think I forgot to put a ball in. I'm going to test it, okay? Because if I just put powder in, there's no danger at all, no matter where the powder is in there, all right? If I put the ball in, it's all the way down, okay? And it'd be safe because I just put the ramrod in and checked it. So here we go. I'm not going to shoot the watermelon with it. I'm going to shoot over there. Yeah, just powder. So check yourself, and I have a special challenge there because I'm yakking. So watch myself. There was a live demonstration of how you need to be careful and how you need to stay focused. And one of the disadvantages of keeping up with everything I'm doing in terms of firearms and then figuring out what to say that might be useful to you is I can get off track. So with muzzle loaders, it's a little more of an issue. Okay, but nothing dangerous there. Okay, all right. Now I'm using a different powder charge too, where I could just check my notches and all that. So let's put a ball in. Got 100 grains. All right, make sure he's down all the way. All right. Now, no question about it. We have powder and we have ball. And half cock. You've heard the old line, don't go off half cocked, right? Don't want that to happen, do you? All right. Now, we got 100 grains of powder and a 460 grain chunk of lead for you, Mr. Watermelon. It'd be a shame if I missed him, wouldn't it? Okay. Wow. That had a little bit of recoil. Interesting. Really blew out the back, but didn't explode. You never know what a watermelon's going to do. There you have mainly a lot of bulk, a lot of weight going through him, but not the kind of velocity, 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 feet per second that you get with modern military rifle round, that sort of thing. So you don't get the drama that you might get, with some other type of rifle. But anyway, that's what you get. That one, it kicked a little bit. Didn't hurt too much at all, really. It didn't hurt at all, really, but it kicked a little bit more. And that's the beauty of these kinds of things. They're fun to shoot. I hope you can tell that. I thoroughly enjoy getting these things out and firing them. I'm going to do a lot more of that this summer. And it's a kind of a living piece of history, just like an M1 Garand is. And and these go back like the Garand and different firearms where you got wood and steel. There's a certain appeal to that, just as there is to an MP5. There's just brass and color case hardening, knowing that this is what soldiers were running around with in the 1860s. Here where I stand actually, here in Tennessee and all around parts of this country, and relying on these kinds of things for their purpose, to try to win for their side, right? So this is again the 1861 Enfield. It's called the Musketoon. It's a carbine, and it's a very accurate firearm. It would shoot as well as you can if you worked with it and get those sights. It's designed for a longer range, to tell you the truth. Maybe we'll put an ACOG on it or something. How's that? So anyway, I thought I'd bring this to you because I was out shooting it the other day. We didn't even have the camera. I just enjoy doing this, and these are great old rifles and fun to shoot. Hope you enjoyed that, because life is good.